So this isn't necessarily a space game, but it is a sci-fi game. But one game I've been playing lately is Fallout from Fantasy Flight Games. Now I keep wanting to call it Fallout the board game, but it is not that. It is just Fallout. But it is from Fantasy Flight Games, like I was saying. It's designed by Andrew Fisher and Nathan Hajek. And this game is pretty polarizing. Now, to my happiness, an expansion was announced today for it, which I'm very
Today.
excited for.
You
Today. Now, I did totally bury the lead there, but I do love this game. And I'll explain why it's polarizing in a sec. But in this game, what you're doing is you and up to three of your friends are going to be exploring the wastelands, and you'll be killing bugs and other enemies, other super mutants and radiated enemies, and you will be exploring tiles and discovering locations and having adventures at these locations. And it's a very straightforward game. This is not a complex Euro. It's just a roll dice and have an experience type of game. Now, one big aspect of this game are the narrative aspects. A story is going to unfold in front of you, depending on what you do and depending on the scenario that you are playing. The base box, I believe, comes with 4 scenarios. Hoping the expansion will come out with more. Actually, the expansion is coming out with a cooperative scenario, which I think is a big plus to it.
hmm
But in these scenarios, the layout of the tiles are different. Now, the reason I love this game, uh, I feel like I am playing Fallout, the video game,
Yeah.
with this board game. Now, I'm not a huge Fallout fan. I played a buttload of 3. I never
hmm
played New Vegas. I played about half of 4 and lost interest.
All right.
But 3 was very impactful to me. I loved that game. I loved the expansions. But this game gave me, honestly, it gave me that exact same feel where I'm going around, and honestly, sometimes things don't happen in the game, or sometimes very exciting things don't happen in the game. Sometimes I just find myself walking around and shooting bad guys, which I totally did in the video game as well. So this game, I think, why it was disappointing for people was expectations weren't met. And it makes me think about, what do I want out of a game? I never expect perfection from a game. I think that's why I don't consider myself a reviewer of board games, because
hmm
I find myself seeing the good in all board games, and I just can see what it does for me. So I've played this game with 3 players and with 4 players. I think ideally is 3 players, and all of us already enjoy Fallout as an IP already, and we all just really enjoyed it for what it is. This is not a deep strategic game. This is not a game that you're trying to win. It's just a game where you just have an experience in the wastelands, and I really do have that same feeling. Now, I totally get the criticism and where it's coming from, but it doesn't really bother me. I talked about narrative aspects a bit, and sometimes the story doesn't even finish before the game's over, and I
Right.
get that can be frustrating.
Right.
Uh, and there's no real connection between players. There's not a lot of interaction
Right.
between players, which I also understand. But, I'm going to put the Fallout soundtrack in the background. We're going to fight some bugs, and we're going to buy some cool loot, and we're going to level ourselves up. And it's honestly, it's a great translation of a video game to a board game, and I'm very excited for the expansion. Now, what's your experience with this game?
Uh, wow. Very similar to you. I played a lot of 3. Did not finish 3. Played a little bit of New Vegas. Didn't finish New Vegas. Going into 4, I was like, I'm not gonna buy 4, and then I bought 4, and same thing
Mm-hmm.
happened. I have a thing called AP, which is adventure paralysis, where is so here's how I am with games. When I start a game, specifically a single player game, I like to complete everything, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
there's like little side quests, little achievements, like I do want to try my best effort to go through it and complete it all. So when I can't, or when I'm finding that there's another settlement that needs our help, and I've done it like 10 other times and it's just never ending. The fact that there's always like that little quest up there that always the settlement needs my help, that there's nothing I can do to stop that, is what burns me out so quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
again, very quickly, again, I think very similar with you. Like I got halfway through 4 and I was just like, like I just ended up doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to Fallout the board game, I have it again in my collection, and sadly have not played it. It's just one of those games I just have every intention to, and it's in my head, and then just life comes up, and I just can't end up getting it to the table. And when I was reading about the expansion, which is New California, Vault 44, one of the biggest things that I've been hearing about in the credits is exactly what you described, which is the game ends with the player who has the most influence or triggers the
Oh
influence
yeah.
tracker to reach a certain point. And while you could be in the midst of a thing or a story, a mission, or a campaign, the game will just be like, "Yep, it's done, it's over." And then the game ends and you don't really see how it gets to play out. Or that essentially, when you're playing it with a group of people, you're playing a game solitaire and 2 other people are playing it with you solitaire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like, that gives off like a weird Karuba vibe. Have you ever played Karuba?
No, I've heard of it, and it does sound interesting, but I do understand how it's very like solitaire, and you're just kind of having the same experience
Yeah,
with the people around the table.
exactly. So interestingly enough, though, uh, that does not dim me or disinterest me from still playing this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still very extremely interested to play this game, because I think what I'm also really excited about when it comes to board games is the story it tells.
Yeah.
And I think
Oh yeah.
Fallout does a really great job, or from what I can tell, does a really great job of being able to match the same type of story that you would expect from Fallout the video game.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that it talked about how the game will just end before you finish the story. It sounds like that's both of our experience playing the video game, where we
Right.
just kind of stop playing and we don't see the end. And I'm the same way. I played so much of 3 and of the expansions, but I never finished a storyline for
Mm.
the same reason. I just, oh, I'm gonna go see what's over happening in this. Was Far Harbor in that one, or was that 4? I don't remember.
Far Harbor was 4, I
Uh,
think.
Okay, there's
Pretty
one in
sure
a
it was
giant
4.
ship in 3. I don't remember, and then there was like
No.
an alien ship. But yeah, it's the same thing where, and it's about expectations, and that actually makes me happy that even though you've heard this criticism, it's not gonna, it's not dimming your excitement to play it. And I'll be really interested to see how you think about it after you do play it.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed my experience of it. I definitely want to play it again. I've played it a few times already, and I think the expansion will just keep the interest in that game alive. I don't know how well it was received. I guess it was received well enough to bring out an expansion. I know that when it came out, it was hard to get because GameStop bought up a lot of the inventory. I heard,
Oh, really?
which is really interesting. Yeah. Now this could be a very interesting glimpse into the hobby from someone who's not already in the hobby. So a Fallout fan, let's say they see this at a GameStop and they buy it. I wonder what they think about it. I wonder what they think about board games in general after playing this game. I
I
think that'd be
don't.
interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if it. People, I imagine there's going to be a chunk of those people that take it out, start reading the rules, and they immediately are like, just nope out of it.
Oh yeah.
I have a
Oh
feeling
totally.
about that. I do hope, and I can't imagine that. I think it does kind of influence people's interest into the hobby a little bit more, and being able to be like,
Hmm.
oh wow, this is a decent, like, not reorganizing, but just what is it? Not retheming, but just being able to make that connection, right, from the
Yeah.
digital to the physical.
Yeah. It's
I
awesome.
really hope. I really hope. It seems like it does. Like you said, it does a great job, and I think it's going to connect people. I will say that it probably, in that crowd. No, I don't want to. I don't want to say like those people are dumb. I don't know. Like game. I don't know. It's like I don't go to GameStop to buy board games, I
I
guess.
know.
And
It's really interesting.
I've seen a lot of those games too go on clearance,
Yeah, that's true.
right? You know,
That's
X-Wing
very
has
true.
gone on clearance a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I even think Fallout went on clearance not too long afterwards too. So it's
Oh,
just kind of
probably.
like, with that being said, like you can't move those copies, and it's just like, I don't know. it's we'll see if GameStop does transition. With games going digital, who's to say GameStop can't go into more of that market? I don't know.
That's true. I actually really have enjoyed Fantasy Flight's video game, board game translations. Did you ever play their Doom board game, the
Yeah,
new one?
yeah. I did. Yeah, it was a cool game.
It was so great.
Yeah.
Now, have you played the 2016 Doom on a console or anything?
Oh, I love
on your
that. That
PC?
was like my favorite game of that year. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I love the board game version of it as well. You can put the soundtrack behind. It's just it's so good. I like what they're doing. I think they do great implementations of video games. Anyway, that is Fallout by Fantasy Flight Games.